everything works out. Yeah. Phil, for a minute, what have I got? Do I have anything? Hey,
You have...
okay, here's a question. Which of us would have the best fatality?
I feel like Dirk. Because you wouldn't expect it.
Yeah.
No offense, Dirk. But I think he would just kind of come out of nowhere, and it would be way more gruesome than anybody would be expecting.
Like my character?
No, you.
Oh, just me?
Yeah.
That's true.
Dirk, how many class periods do you have in a day?
3.
Okay, so suddenly it's 8th period, and you can't go home, and it's all that guy's fault.
Oh, I'm not going to tell you how I do it.
I know you. I don't want you to. I think the details would be entirely too gruesome for TV.
Mm-hmm.
You know how, like, after a killer strikes and everybody in the neighborhood is like, oh, he's so quiet. Yeah, that's Dirk. So.
Wow.
Yeah, totally Dirk. Who do you think, Chewy?
I just wanted to know what you guys thought. I'm fairly twisted, so I was leaning towards me, but I'm also very egotistical, so of course I was.
I am totally that guy that, like, I'm going to get your health bar down, and it's going to be like, finish him, and I'm going to be like, all right, I got it, and I'm going to press down at the wrong time, and it's going to be like, I stomp on your foot. That's my fatality.
Reminds me of Squanto's finisher for his imaginary wrestler was the toe kick of doom.
Like that, but more pathetic.
Yeah.
And probably unintentional.
There is a picture of us in tuxedos doing the wedding photos of Squanto giving me the toe kick of doom. I sold the hell out of it because it was his wedding. All right, then. That is plenty of time for... That's way too long for filler, actually. So, here we go. Now, jam. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mana Pool. This is, apparently, episode 705 of the Mana Pool. And on this episode, hopefully, I hope to God, we're going to finish the tabletop MTG RPG that we started. I would tell you when we started it, but it's all too depressing, so we're not gonna.
This time on the Mana Pool.
It's been a long road.
Yeah. So for those of you watching the video version, you can see our characters here as sketched out by, our buddy Jars. I'm the angel. I have a sword, and I'm not afraid to use it.
Oh.
Who are you other dorks?
Well, I usually go next, but on these episodes, it's kind of weird because I'm the one that's not playing a character, unless I'm playing all the other characters because I'm the game master. So I am the disembodied voice. Please pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. He's actually a chihuahua on a treadmill, and nobody wants to see that.
I wouldn't mind seeing a chihuahua on a treadmill.
It was a demonic chihuahua on a treadmill.
Even better. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I would like to subscribe to your newsletter, little chihuahua.
It'll cost your soul.
Ginger.
But I'm... Oh, never mind, you don't have one. But that's me.
All right. In this version of the podcast, I am Kareem, the soldier, also a vampire. Don't know how that's going to go.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Not anymore? Oh, that's right. I can't edit my sheet in this version of it, so it still says that.
Yeah, that
Sorry, I
means
got
you actually
confused.
lose some benefits, but you also lose some, like, maybe trying to kill your friends, which for most people is not a benefit.
For
That's
us,
what
it's
we
pretty
hear.
normal, though.
Yeah.
All right, and I'm Dirk, the self-proclaimed greatest man alive. But in this, I am Alaric, the monk.
And I'm gonna do
Primarily an
best
archer
to
monk.
Yep.
yeah, primarily an archer monk. And I'm gonna do my best to remember which one's Alaric and which one's Kareem.
I mean, you haven't so far, so why start now?
Oh, because gotta go out with a bang. And speaking of going out with a bang, um, so last time we were together, which actually wasn't too many episodes ago, you guys chasing your frenemy, companion slash betrayer, Seer through the underground and fighting a sliver overlord among other creatures, found yourselves in a giant chamber about football field sized, etc. And in the center it was a pod. And at first you thought Seer was in the pod, but it turned out it was an illusion, tricky, and she tried to suck Kareem into it, managed to hold off on that, and the angel used Break Open after Alaric sent some summoned wolves against her, and she had to dispel them. The angel waited for the perfect opportunity and broke open the pod, which
I
had
really
several
love
effects.
that I used a joke ability that you gave me, literally as a this will be funny.
You've used it a couple times, and it's been great, but this was by far the most significant because this was the pod that it was allowing Donathier, the originator of this entire plane, to channel his power and his spark into the plane to keep it going. And when you broke it, it had several effects, including removing Kareem's vampiric curse, kind of giving a power up to Alaric, and the angel's memories are starting to slowly flow back into her mind. But it also gave not only a power up to Fear, but now that she's kind of lost her motivation, she wanted to basically suck out your sparks and leave a plane she thought was doomed to die, but kind of took away her reason for existing. It also removed the stasis on Drazil, the tree, or so you thought that you were inside, which turned out to be an almost fossilized ancient creature that Donathier had defeated and repurposed into this sort of mana conduit, and it's waking up. You are at the top of the tree. You can see out over essentially the entire plane, and she has begun to merge herself with this creature. You guys tried to call out to her one last time to appeal to her better sense of self, and she had a moment of hesitation. And in that moment, a voice echoed through this enormous chamber like nails on brick, on chalk, on grating on your very sanity. It said, "No more talking. Let's do this." Well, not so eloquent as that, but essentially, no talk, only fight, only consume, only blood. So that's where we left off. You are a couple paces from her, and she is being merged into the wall. I'm going to give everyone reacting to this essentially one chance to react in an action or whatever you think would be best. If you're preparing yourself or if you're trying to do anything else, but she's merging into the wall. She is far away enough from you that it would take most of a turn to catch up to her. But why don't we kind of walk through everybody's turn real quick, and then we'll get into what I am assuming, unless you somehow talk her and it out of this, a combat. So, Angel, what did you want to do? Alaric and Kareem.
All right. I realized at the end of the last episode that I have this ability called Forge, where because I learned how to mess with flowstone at some point in the past, and I'm carrying around 8 pieces of ore. And have this entire time. I also apparently have something called a magic cord. I have no idea what that is, and I have no memory of how I got it. Do you remember, Brian?
I'm looking through your inventory now. That's
Feature of your
Kareem.
character, just stuff you don't have. stuff you don't
Magic
remember.
cord. Let's see here. Magic cord is what I have written in your notes.
Yeah.
So,
That's what I
yeah,
got.
we'll say it's about 20 feet long of a magic cord. I would have to go back and listen to the.
Did we just lose Brian?
The 18 to 20 previous episodes of RPGs to track down where you found the magic cord. But I have in my notes he has a magic cord. So
Fair enough then.
but you've also got the ore.
Yeah, we won't fool with that. So, I have an ability called Forge, where I can sacrifice an ore, essentially use my ore to give one of us, or a creature, +1 power or toughness for this encounter. And sort of like saving all your elixirs for the final boss. I've never needed to use these, so I figure we should probably use some of these. But I asked Brian before the show started, hey, how long does this take? And he's like your one action for the turn? I went, piss.
Yeah.
So, depending on what you guys are going to do or what you think, what's everybody's current power and toughness? Like, I'm a 3-4. No, I'm a 2. That's HP.
I'll tell you what.
I'm a 2-3.
I'll tell you what, since we're having some fun with this and because you've never done this before, so hey, why not? Roll a d4 for me. And we'll say you can use, in this instance, you can use up to that many ore.
Oh, I didn't get out my dice yet. Hang on. A D what?
D4.
D4. That is. Why don't I just dump them all out? There we go, stupid. That would be this one. And I roll. Okay, hang on. Let me set up my.
It's going to be a 1.
Let me set up my dice rolling area here where the damn things won't end up going behind the desk or off the side. Okay, I rolled a 3.
Okay, so I will say in this instance you can use up to 3. And you can spread them out if you want, like a toughness here, a power here, whatever. So
okay. So tell us what everybody's power and toughnesses are there, Brian. It looks like I'm a 2-3.
I'm a 2-3.
yeah.
I'm a 3-4, I think.
Is that reflected in your vampiric traits?
I know you lost some when you stopped being a vampire.
I read through that. Yeah,
okay.
I read through that.
Okay, yeah, so 2-3, 2-3, and 3-4.
Okay. Well, since I can use 3, apparently, to prep real quick, what do you guys want? Everybody gets 1.
Toughness or power?
Power.
All right. Alaric?
I'm going to go with power.
All right. And screw it. I will too.
So everybody gets +1 power for this encounter.
Yeah.
So that is what the angel is doing. So real quickly, you're digging in your pocket. You take out these 3 pieces of ore. You say a quick incantation, and each one of them turns into a little mote of light and shoots into everybody's chest. And you all feel like, I can win. I can do this. Go me.
Yeah. And everyone
Alaric
be sure to remember to mark that down that you have an extra power. Because in the heat of battle, we'll all forget all the time.
Pretty much.
That's going to matter for like some of your attacks. So
exactly.
Okay, Alaric and Kareem, as this is going down, you have a moment to strategize.
So she's trying to merge into the tree.
She's walking into the now fleshy wall of the tree as this voice is booming.
I'm going to shoot an arrow of pure fire.
At the tree at Seer. Okay. Go ahead and roll your attack.
That is.
You know how to do that, right? It should
It's
be
been
on
a
your.
while.
So you're using your Werehunter bow?
Yep. So
Okay.
that's 1d12.
1d12.
10.
And with your. All right. And you add 2 to attack rolls with that. Um, So you rolled a 10, so that's a total of 12. And it will deal an additional 1 damage and set the target on fire, but not if it's not flammable. So that is a 12. Okay. Uh, Very good hit. As she is attempting to merge, keep in mind, and I know this was at the end of the last episode, you were trying to talk her out of this, and it seems like she was hearing you, and then the creature itself, whatever this is starting to, on its own, envelop her in her hesitation. So you shoot her with this, it explodes, and for a moment, she is engulfed, and she screams in pain, and when she looks back at you, all the hesitation is gone from her eyes, because
Whoops.
that little moment of weakness, you shot her, and that's it. She's done. She's committed to that. But that was 12, so she takes some damage. Kareem, what are you doing, if anything?
Okay, yeah, I'm also going to go aggro. I'm going to run ahead and attack with my scimitar.
Okay, are you attacking Seer or Drizzle?
Seer.
Seer, okay. All right, roll your attack.
Okay. So the sword says
Screw you, lady.
2d8, and then I add my light weapon skill to the result.
Correct. Yeah,
Okay. And do I also add my power?
yes.
Yes.
Since
Okay.
this is a melee, yeah.
So if I was 11.
11. You reach the distance as she's again being enveloped in this. You kind of, I'll say that as you're running, because these things are more or less happening simultaneously, the arrow passes you, explodes on her, and she is staring at Alaric as you rush up, and you not cleave, but you do a very broad strike down her chest, and she screams in your face, and psychically you are pushed back just a little bit as she holds up a hand, not in time to ward you off, but after the impact pushes you back. She looks very hurt and is bleeding, but as she finishes getting enveloped into Drizzle, her chest first, and then her face, and then the arm still outstretched is the last thing you see before it's engulfed. You do see that the wound on her chest that you just inflicted starts to knit back together slightly, but with what you just did, it's clear she's very, very hurt. And there's a little mote of light from within Drizzle, and from where she just went in, and it moves up maybe about 20 or so feet, and you can just kind of see almost an outline of her form, and it's now about 20 feet up in the air. And then her face kind of re-emerges from there, staring down at you, and from all around you, this creaking, groaning sound comes from everywhere. And now the battle is well and truly joined. So you have this monstrous creature essentially all around you. The platform you are on does not appear to be part of the creature. That is of a different substance, but this massive creature that was visible from not throughout the plane, but a good distance away, is writhing. It is changing into an almost not quite translucent, but very pale substance. Has anyone?
I'm
does
sorry,
anyone
wait.
feel like
I was reading one of my abilities. What turned into a pale substance?
the texture of the tree, the creature around
okay.
you, this massive creature. Has anyone ever been to Zendikar?
I was just about to say, this isn't a tree, is it?
No.
Oh, Jesus
Or
Christ.
is the angel saying that?
What? No, that was me.
Okay.
Like,
okay.
I was like, are we about to throw down with an Eldrazi? Oh, goody.
Sounds like it.
It does. I don't know if I've ever been to Zendikar.
Okay.
Because memory.
Because Eldrazi are not exactly well known throughout the multiverse, usually in the ancient history before the mending, planes that had Eldrazi on them died until Sorin and the Lithomancer and Ugin intervened. Only anyone associated with the Gatewatch probably would know what they are, but you know, big, scary, crazy monster when you see one. Your first thought, Angel, having had some, you know that the first plane you planeswalk to was Wrath. Having had some experience with Phyrexians, your first thought is, oh God, is this a dreadnought? What are we dealing with here?
Yeah.
But it lacks the oil. It lacks that almost uniformity in its purpose. This is something completely alien,
Yeah.
and from it, dozens of smaller appendages, tentacle like, start sprouting all along its body. So, we've got this battle going on here. You've already just all taken essentially a preparation turn. Seer looks pretty hurt. What we're going to do now is we're going to proceed through a loose turn order. I will say, how do all of you feel like you were? I know that Kareem was right up there where Seer was. So Kareem, you're basically right up against the wall of this thing.
Yeah.
Alaric, you were standing back because you shot it. Angel, you were standing back because you used your ability. So I would say for the narrative, the two of you are a little further back
Yeah.
than okay. All right, so we have that. As you watch as Seer kind of pokes her head out and her eyes are now glowing blue, as she speaks, you hear both her voice and this nail voice speaking at almost the same time. You'll serve our purpose now, whether you want to or not. And Drazil is going to make a tentacle attack against a character. So let's see here. It's going to be, well, it's going to be the character closest to it. So, Kareem,
All right.
what is your defense?
My
You got to
defense is 7.
That is a very beefy defense. The as because you're close, one of these appendages is going to solidify and it's going to try to smack you. Unfortunately, it does not roll high enough to pierce your defense. So we'll say you dodge out of the way. So it is now it's going to make a tentacle attack, and then Drazil now casts Eternity Vacuum. So Eternity Vacuum. All right. I need to know everybody's defense. I know Kareem's because it's 7. We just covered that.
Mine is 4.
4?
Mine says 4 parentheses modified by equipment. So does that mean I go add
That
my equipment, or is that including my equipment? I forget.
that means that's including your equipment.
Okay.
So
Oh yeah, defense +1. Okay, so I have 4.
okay. So the way Eternity Vacuum works is I roll to see if it even affects everyone with a certain defense or less, and then there's a separate roll to see how much damage it is. The roll was defense 6 or less, so Kareem, this will not affect you. You others each take 1 damage, so you can go ahead and tick off 1 of your toughness, assuming you have any toughness, because it has to go through your toughness before it
What in the hell
before
is
it actually.
Eternity Vacuum?
That's the spell it just cast. So I'm giving it a name for flavor reasons.
Oh, okay. I
Like
was like,
vanilla.
there is no magic card called Eternity Vacuum.
Nope. Nope. I'm aware.
You're just making crap
So.
up. Got it. So
Oh, yeah.
what
Oh, yeah.
happened? I took
Surprise!
one.
Our special preview card from Duskmorn.
Right.
It's true. Brought to you by Wizards of the Coast. You take a damage. But since you have toughness, it will come off your toughness first.
Okay.
And that is 1 to Alaric as well.
Okay.
Okay. So that does it for Drazil's turn. Seer starts to extend a hand out of Drazil, but looks like she's just waiting and watching to see what all of you do. So Kareem, being the closest to Drazil, What are you going to do? And then the other two can kind of figure out what you're going to do next in whichever order you want. But Kareem, what are you doing?
Okay, I feel like I used a bunch of my mana earlier today to cast a big haste spell.
You did, although you may have gotten some back when the pod was broken. Although I know I phrased it to you as, do you want to get the cursed removed or do you want to get a power boost? So you chose the curse.
Yeah.
Do you have noted what all you were able to get back, or was it simply the curse coming off?
No, not anymore. I don't know where those notes are.
Okay.
I'm a bad player.
Oh, no, I'm a bad GM, so it's fine. There are no bad players. Actually, there are.
I was gonna say, I'm
I've had to
pretty
sit
sure
at
that's
tables
us.
with several of them.
Okay. Well, for right now, just assume that if you have marked off that you've used that mana, just keep that marked that way for now.
Oh, hang on, I have. I have 5 toughness. Did that make a difference? Or defense,
No.
rather.
You have 5 toughness?
No, defense.
Well, 5 defense. That is helpful to know. In this instance, it did not make a difference, but definitely make sure I remember that for next time.
I'm
okay.
marking that down.
Marking that down?
There we go.
Marker.
Okay.
All right. So, Kareem, what do you want? What do you want to do?
Let's see. Gosh, this doesn't like swinging away at the wall. Feels like it would just be. I don't know if that would even help. I don't think I ever found out what this weird ring did.
I don't think you did.
No, I didn't. But let's see. Let's see if it will do anything. I'm going to just take my hand that has a weird ring on it and just press my fist into the wall. Just plonk.
Okay.
Let's see what happens. If anything.
You're pressing the ring into the wall.
Yes.
The weird ring that you found on the way to the fire dragon fight. Okay.
What is the wall?
All right.
You mean the creature?
The wall of the creature?
Yeah.
I'm assuming.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it has a lot of the characteristics of a wall, although it is writhing. Okay, since you use the weird ring and you're now pressing it against this creature, I want you to roll a D100.
All right.
What the hell is a D100?
It's a
D10
percentage die.
And another D10.
Percentage one.
Okay.
One is the 10s and one is the
77.
70.
The hell are the chances of that?
About 1 in 100.
Roughly
actually.
1 in 100. Yeah.
Okay.
I hate you guys.
Wow. Okay. All right. Go ahead and roll a D6 for me there, Mike.
Okay. 3.
You watch as Kareem is like, wonder what this will do. And it almost looks like he's going to punch. And you're like, yes, Blood Fist Kareem, because that's, from the merfolk face caving in. But instead of rearing all the way back, he kind of just pushes it in, and the ring immediately starts to glow. And you watch as it somehow separates and unfolds from your finger and starts to enter the wall. And on a 77, it starts to glow a bit of a rainbow of colors. And then that rainbow of colors starts to spread throughout this entire creature, which, keep in mind, that's impressive. This whole area starts to light up like a neon disco ball. And it starts to writhe. And there's a small explosion around the perimeter, and it takes a couple points of damage. But it remains, for a certain duration, it remains kind of lit up with this Technicolor display. And just from an innate sense of being pressed against it, you feel its aura weakening somehow. You feel like, trying to think of a flavorful way to describe this, but it looks like its aura is weakening a bit, and subsequent damage is going to be more effective than it would be otherwise. You lit it up, and as you do that, Seer, who was holding out her hand and starting to gather some blue mana, was just kind of watching you do this. And as this spreads throughout the creature, you notice that she doesn't seem to be affected. She looks down at you and she says, "What did you do? What was that weird ring? What did you do?" As the nail on chalkboard voice cries out in agony and fury. So, you now no longer have a weird ring. It has served its purpose and dealt some damage to this enormous creature. Okay?
Okay.
Now, you other two, you watch this happen, and you're like, well, you get to decide how you react, but it's impressive. And it's...
real quick,
Yeah.
it's not a magic cord that I have in the typo. It's a magic card.
Oh, it's a magic card.
And in my notes, I have one magic card that... where did I just see that?
Oh, I think I know what this is. Yeah, go ahead.
One magic card that does ... something is what I have written. I also have a little bit of numbing liquid in a vial.
Well, over the course of an RPG, you tend to gather questionable items like weird rings, liquids in bottles.
Clearly. And
cards.
sometimes when the DM writes up a new sheet for you, he leaves some stuff out. Or has a typo.
Like turning a card into a cord. I'm like, sure, it's 20 feet of cards. So.
Okay. So that's helpful. Alaric, what you gonna do now that you've seen all that nonsense? Good answer.
Trying to look at my stuff and see if there's anything I can do other than shoot arrows.
Have you not been thinking about your turn this whole time?
I've been looking through my stuff.
Oh my god. Okay, well, while he does research over there,
I'm trying to remember how to play.
How do you play this game again?
I don't know, and that worries me that I'm the one who's paying attention.
That is totally the GM's fault. When you don't know how to play, that is the GM's fault.
I'm once I get the feeling that something has been weakened, I'm of course gonna pull out my sword, and
like you do,
like I do, and rush forward in the air to try to take a swing at it, because I don't know how long this apparently damaging aura is gonna last, but I'm gonna take advantage of it while I can.
There you go. All right. So you are you? Did you say you're up in the air, or are you just rushing on foot?
Well, yeah. In combat, the angel doesn't stay on the ground when she's charging. So
that's what I figured.
Yeah.
So okay. All right. So you charge now, because Seer's 20 feet in the air on this thing. I will say from where you are, then taking off, then getting to her. It'll be a little tough to make it all the way.
Oh, I'm not going for her. I'm going for.
Okay.
Somewhere just where the weird multicolored ouchie spot is. You said it's spreading.
It's spreading around here, yeah, and does not seem to be affecting her.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna try to damage the big formerly tree thing. Is it X Death? Okay. Oh my god, it's X Death. And
a little certain similarities. So
oh, I'm sorry, I tickled myself. And hit it with a big ass sword.
Okay.
So let's see here. I've got too many things open. Hang on. Okay, so I've got 3 power plus my heavy weapons, another 3. Okay, and then I guess I need to roll a d12.
Remember, you do have an additional power, so that will increase the damage that you do.
That was, yeah, I covered that.
Okay, great.
10, 10, 8. Where the hell? There's the 12. When I dumped everything out, it rolled into my tablet cover thing, so I had to pick up my tablet and turn it over. And I rolled... Nope. I rolled an A? No, a 4. That makes more sense.
An A. Okay.
So that's 4, and 3 is 7, and 3 is 10.
Okay.
Was that
You
okay?
do-
Hang on. Is that it? There was all kinds of crap on the last street. No, that's for the extra effect on the longsword. Okay.
Right. When you basically got rid of your own toughness to become a glass cannon. So that's
Yeah.
a total of 10.
Yes.
I will say that it's interesting. When you cut into this thing, you meet more resistance than you might expect. After all, this is a big, beefy, several meters, miles, large creature. It's a tough exterior, but as soon as you breach some of the exterior, that's when this glowing light seems to come into play, and you gather it's still hard to break into this thing. Not break it open, but break into it. But the minute that you pierce the hard outer shell, all of a sudden it's like cleaving through butter. And you slash down and you open this giant gash in this thing. And and as you fly back just a bit, as one of the tentacles emerges and tries to swipe you away, so you just back up intentionally. You notice you've done a huge amount of damage to this thing, so good job.
Nice.
All right.
I will turn and shout, "Aim for the gooey center!" So everyone is aware, because I've seen this up close. I don't know how well they can see it.
So that we get more feet on the ground, I'm going to summon Wolfpack.
A woo.
Oh,
hmm
okay. You summon Wolfpack.
And
So
I'm gonna have the
those-
Wolfpack attack where the angel was just attacking.
Okay. You
I don't-
just
I don't
summoned
know how high up
those.
I am.
So, do those have haste?
They do not.
They do not. Okay. All right. You summon a wolf pack, and you're just placing them. Are you placing them basically around where Kareem is, so they're right up against it?
Yep.
Okay. And yeah, it's a 7/6 green wolf token, and it ignores the target's defense. So that's really good. They're gonna have to wait a turn to attack. Huh?
I said that's fine.
Okay. At the end of your turn, 2 things happen. Let's do this. Let's do this in order. First of all, Tyr, who's been waiting and watching everything that's happened, although she's been a bit distracted by that, she is going to cast Psionic Blast. And that is an actual card. So
Yeah, that's
I did not
that's
make...
blue char, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Actually,
she's
char
gonna
is
deal-
red Sonic Blast,
Yeah.
but you know.
Okay. She's going to cast that and she's dealing 2 damage to herself. She's going to cast that at Kareem. Kareem, what is your defense?
7.
3?
My defense is 7.
Your defense is 7. So,
My defense is
okay. Yeah.
His name is Robert Paulson.
His name is Robert Paulson. Okay. So because that did not deal damage higher than your defense, you essentially just shrug it off, and the feedback hits her in the face.
Ha!
The other thing that happens is, Angel, you are starting to slowly get your memories back, and as you're in the pitch of battle, a memory comes back to you unbidden.
Uh-oh. Unbidden memories are always the worst.
Now, you
Unless
said
you're the
that-
detective who needs it to solve a crime, which I am not.
Turns out you're a detective from Ravnica. No, that was a different set. The last thing you remember, did we ever say what the last thing that you remembered was? You remember that
The
you
last
planeswalked to I should say the first thing you remember. Since
Oh.
your memory went doo-doo.
Hang on, I've got that here. I know that I came from Fiora. I know I was on Wrath before the overlay.
Yeah.
And I know that I lost someone in the Blind Eternities because that's where the mending hit me.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what I remembered before, meeting up
Right.
with these goobers and all of our adventures, however many they were. It's weird when I have giant memory loss a long time ago, and then there's a whole bunch of stuff that because we just made this character, I don't know.
No, that's great. So you start to remember facets about this person, this companion that you lost in the Blind Eternities. You start to remember a little bit about their face. You start to remember this is someone that I trusted, and one of the only people that I trusted, because coming from Fiora like you did, that's tough. That's real tough. And you start to feel almost fresh this sense of loss. And you're kind of pushing into that memory, and in seeing that, feeling the Blind Eternities, feeling this memory come back, you remember tentacles. You remember this shade of color that's all around you, or at least before it became, Technicolor Dream Coat thing. And you suddenly have a jolt, and you're like, you don't know that it was this Eldrazi, but it was something similar that pulled your friend away. And you feel angry, and you feel upset. And for the duration of this encounter, you're going to get +1 power from this memory.
Oh.
So, because you opted to not get too much of a power boost, you're getting your memories back, and they may have various effects as we get along. All right, at the beginning of the next round, you watch as the Eldrazi creature around you seems to suddenly contract and then expand, and the lights on it flash, and they seem to go from color to color, and very familiar colors to you, until it settles on a dull green color. And that color is now emanating from it, and its aura has taken on this color. And this is still while the flashing colors have come from under its skin. Now the whole thing appears, at least outwardly, to take on a green hue. It's going to make a tentacle attack, and it's going to make a tentacle attack against Alaric. It's going to have to reach a bit further to do so. Alaric, what is your defense?
5.
5.
I hiccup. Is that a free
take
action?
no damage. You hiccup. You take no damage because it was just below your defense. And then it's going to cast Eternity Growth. And you watch as its skin seems to harden a bit for a moment, and then almost as it's almost this cracking sound, and then it seems to loosen up and then split like a cut after it's kind of healed over, and then you poke it and it oozes a bit, and that sensation spreads all around its body, and it seems to swell, and it feels like it's grown just a little bigger, and it's gotten a little beefier, and you think that this thing is getting stronger as this battle goes on. So, luckily they happen in that order, but you think the longer this battle goes on, the more tentacle attacks are going to be, the stronger it's going to be if it's going to keep using this growth ability. But that's going to do it for its turn. Kareem, we return to you. You watch as all this is happening. What are you doing? You're still right up against it.
Okay, well, I guess emboldened by all that, I'm just gonna attack with my scimitar.
All right, go right ahead. Go for the gooey center.
All right. Okay. Oh, that's good. That's 18.
18. Wow. Even with this thing's really high defense, that still manages to pierce through. You do a quick slash across this, and it bites deeply. And this thing screams out in pain. So 18. And as you do this, you watch as not just where you slashed it, but cracks are starting to appear in its skin all over its body. And you gather you're doing enough damage that the section in front of you is starting to heal a bit, but by doing so, it's creating a structural. It's decreasing the structural integrity from the rest of this body to try to keep up with healing the section right in front of you. And it's starting to look pretty rough, honestly. And you get the sense that you're starting to wear this thing down. It's still a giant monstrosity, but you're feeling like, thanks to your own experiences, your own skill, and this enchanted weapon you've got, you're getting there. There's some hope to this. You two in the back row, you watch this happen. You watch these cracks starting to form. I say back row, but I know Angel, you were flying fairly close to it.
Yeah.
What do you do? You're now emboldened by this memory you've just gotten back, and angry at this thing.
All right. Is there any? I'm not sure of the time frames here. You know, it's very rigid in things like D&D. Is there any like chance while all this is going on to communicate with each other?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so when it changes to green, I'm gonna yell at the other two. What do you think the green color means?
I think that means it's immune to green.
That's sort of what I was afraid of, and I'll look sadly at all your puppies. I don't think there's anything I can do. Do what?
I said, that's okay. I have other things.
Okay. I don't think there's anything I can do that will help at the given our current situation with Manifest White. Which is, I'm like, okay, there's a colored aura. Surely I can. Is it healing, protection, or light? Probably not. So, okay, I'm gonna. So how is the GUI center that I revealed earlier? Did that close up?
It is attempting to close it, but you can still see where it was, and it has not closed all the way. So,
okay, I'm gonna take another massive chop at that.
Okay, go right ahead. Roll your attack.
Yep. Oh, that's bad. I rolled a 1.
Okay.
So that's a 3 and 3. No, a 3 and 4. So that's an 8. All right, that's better.
That's an 8. So because you are attacking a spot where you've already cleaved it, you do manage to work it in a bit, But
Yeah,
with
working in.
that, you I will say that the tentacles start to swarm around you a bit, and you cannot do much, if any, damage before you are forced to withdraw your blade. You think you got in there a little bit, but not as much as you were hoping.
Gotcha.
Alaric,
Um,
I will say now that you've taken a turn to summon the wolf pack, you get a turn. The wolf pack gets a turn at the same time. So
mm, let's let's test what the wolf pack can do and see if we're right.
okay,
I'm gonna have the wolf pack attack a tentacle.
okay, go ahead. Let's see. It's a 7/6, and when it attacks, ignore the target's defense, and it's just making a bite attack then.
Right.
Okay. So
Woof, woof.
I had my notes here for unarmed attacks. I just want to make sure I'm being consistent with the system we set up, or as consistent as possible. So, all right, go ahead and roll a d4 and add its strength to this, or its
4.
power. What's that?
And then
4.
+7. Yeah.
Yeah, so you watch as the pack swarms and bites and basically rips a tentacle off. And where it ripped it off, uh, almost a new mouth in this thing forms because you hear screaming from that direction. You gather that from as hard as the wolves attacked it, yes, it does seem like Drazil is resistant to that creature this turn, but it's not immune. And you also recall you watched as it cast some sort of spell a minute ago, and that was you could feel the green mana being pulled into it. So whereas the Eternity Vacuum on the first turn was a colorless spell, so that was a colorless spell. It turned green and then it cast a green spell. So you're kind of starting to notice some pattern here. You do deal damage, but maybe not as much as you would expect all of these wolves attacking at once to do. Okay?
Well, it
But
looks like we were right.
Maybe.
and then what do you want to do on your turn?
Oh, we're shooting a purefire arrow straight at the wall where
Okay.
the angel pokey did.
All right. So go ahead,
Sorry.
and if you're aiming for that same spot, go ahead and roll.
Are you right there,
So that's it.
Angel?
I think the tentacles chased me a
Okay.
little bit away.
Unless you roll very poorly, you're not going to hit the angel. So don't roll a 1.
Don't roll a 1. All right. I got an 8.
Okay. 8 plus, and then +2 because you're using a purifier arrow.
Mm-hmm.
And it deals a damage, and it's green. All right. I will say, especially thanks to the Technicolor display in front of you, you shoot this arrow. It lands right in the spot that the angel had cleaved open,
Yeah.
and there's a moment where nothing happens, and then it ignites and the fire starts to spread, not only at that point, but it starts to spread throughout this entire creature. And it's not a light exactly because it's a living organism, but this reddish burning color starts to spread through it. And whereas the skin had flaked before, all of that flakiness, that sounds like a fish, starts to come off, and more of its pale skin is being exposed and cracking again. And Seer screams at you, "How dare you? You've taken everything from me. You won't take everything from us." And the booming, booming voice of Drazil says, "Enough. So, at the end of the round, again, two things are going to happen. And I'm going to do them in reverse order this time. First, Angel, you're going to get a memory back. This time, not of your former companion. This time, you remember being on this plane before, Trivester. You recall from some of the things that you have found on your journey, the letter that appeared to be in your handwriting,
Yeah.
references to you that you were here and you didn't remember and you're not sure why. And you remember being shown around the place by an elderly figure, humanoid, but possibly elvish ears, you're not entirely sure. Bit of a salt and pepper beard, and you have an intense feeling of companionship, almost deeper than companionship with this person. And you feel happy and proud to be here with him. And he's showing you around, and as he's kind of like waving his hand, you watch as this apparently teenage acolyte comes running up to both of you, almost out of breath, holding multiple scrolls. And as she comes to stop in front of you and looks up into your face, you see a much younger version of Seer. And you remember feeling pride in her, and she's really coming along, and it kind of hits you a little bit too. So you don't gain any effect from this, but you do regain that memory.
Hmm. And I'm
The
gonna
other thing that
I'm gonna assume that the person showing me around was actually Donathir.
you can make that assumption, you feel fairly safely. But the funny thing is, while you remember this conversation, it's almost like watching an old video where there's no audio
Yeah.
and lips move, but you don't hear anything. And now, during Seer's turn, having seriously wounded this giant creature blow after blow, largely thanks to not only your own efforts, but that weird ring that you've expended, Seer is going to take a rather extreme step, and she's going to cast Time Stretch. So,
Oh, that's probably not good.
yeah.
Mhm.
So now Seer and Drizzle are gonna take a couple turns in tandem, and then we'll see what's gonna happen. So at the beginning of Drizzle's next turn, the lights start to flash, it contracts, and it turns an almost deep purple color before settling on a pitch black. It's going to make a tentacle attack against the angel who's right in front of it. All right. That is going to be, because it's got increased strength thanks to the attorney growth, it's going to be an 8. So Angel, what is your defense?
5.
5. So you take 3 damage. So that comes off your toughness first.
All right, and I had already taken 1.
Mm-hmm.
So I lose my 2 toughness and a hit point.
Yes. How many hit points do you have left?
3 left.
Okay, you're starting. When you lose toughness and you start to lose, when you've lost your toughness and you start to lose hit points, that is when you are starting to really take bodily damage, and
Yeah.
when you're starting to really worry about this. And then it's going to cast, because it's black, it's going to cast Eternity Siphon. Each player character, so this is not going to affect, well, no, this will affect the summon creature as well. is going to lose 1 defense for this encounter and is going to go ahead and lose a toughness. If you have already lost toughness, Angel, if you have no more, you are not affected. But everyone is -1 defense for the remainder of this encounter, which is going to make other things hurt more.
Okay.
Seer, for her turn, is going to be pretty well tapped out after that time stretch. And then Drazil is going to take his second turn, and then we'll resume normal order. And the contraction happens, and he starts to turn white. But whereas you have all seen white mana, Angel, you are a creature of white mana. You've seen it represent holiness and sanctity and purity.
Mm-hmm.
This is something else. This is more, while none of you would have known Elish Norn, this is more oppressive. This is more conformity. This is a perversion. And it's almost hurting your eyes to look at it. It's gonna make a tentacle attack. It's going to make a tentacle attack against Kareem, because Kareem's still right there. And that's going to be a 1. So even with the bonus, Kareem, what is your defense? Still 7?
I'm not sure.
But you got a -1.
Yeah, okay.
Go ahead.
I lost my connection right when you started explaining that. I'm on my phone now. Okay. So was it just a -1 to defense?
It was a -1 to defense, and you lost a toughness as long as you had at least 1 toughness to lose.
Okay, yeah, then my defense is 6.
Your defense is 6.
Yes.
Okay, so with a 1, even with its power and its power boost, it's still going to come just shy. I will say that with the absorption spell, the siphon spell, you're feeling weaker, and this tentacle thumps you right in the chest. And if you had not had the highest defense that you do, you would have been knocked on your feet. But you have just enough gumption to stay standing. Okay?
Okay.
And then, and it's white, so it's going to cast Eternity Regeneration, and you watch as it starts to regrow. Some of its wounds are starting to heal more rapidly.
Great.
But it still looks pretty well wounded. So those were the 2 turns that it took in tandem. Now we're going to just go back to the usual turn order, which starts with Drazil and then goes into everybody else. All the color fades from it, except for the pulsing color beneath it. And it looks colorless again. Everyone, wow, my rolls are horrible. Does everyone have at least 3 defense?
Yes.
Okay. Alaric?
Yeah, I do.
I'm sorry, my headphone tried to disable itself. Alaric, you have at least 3 defense?
Yes.
Okay, then everyone survives the round from the vacuum, and it will make a tentacle attack against Alaric. Alaric, what is your defense?
So we lost 1 defense, correct?
Correct.
And my defense is 4.
Your defense is 4. You take 2 damage. Do you still have? You lose toughness first. Do you still have any toughness?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So you take that 2 damage. That is the end of Drazil's turns. Thank goodness. Angel, you watched as time wrapped around you, and you were powerless to stop it. Couple attacks here. You watched it start to mend itself, and now you find yourself able to move once again. What do you want to do?
Are you going to me first this time? Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Kareem.
Okay.
I'm totally on track of this. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Either way.
I think I better just keep doing what I do best and just lay into it with my scimitar again.
Okay.
Okay.
Ow.
That's good. 19.
All right. 19 hits very hard.
Good lord.
You cleave into it.
I said, good lord.
Yeah. You cleave into it, and all of the wounds that had just started to mend through its regeneration are opening up again. And booming into this room is the voice, but it has started to lose cohesion. It started to lose reasoning. And whereas before it was making even monosyllabic sounds, now it's not even screaming. It's almost just like what's the language of Mordor, where they speak over there and you're not supposed
Black
to say
speech.
it. Yeah, it's kind of like that, where it's barely it's almost hard to even make out what it is, but listening to the words, they don't make sense. But behind all of it is the malevolence and hatred of a creature that has existed for hundreds, if not thousands of years, and has only known destruction, and is now focused on you. So now, Angel, go.
All right. Well, now that I have no toughness remaining, I'm in a frenzy.
Okay,
So I have 2 extra power.
there you go.
So I'm gonna, against my better judgment, I'm gonna just take another mighty chop.
Okay, chop away, Earl.
All right, dice, work with me here, man.
There we go.
Come on, go.
I believe in you.
It's a 3. Jesus. So that's
With all your
So-
bonuses,
so that's 3 and 4 is 7, 10 and 2 is 12.
I mean, with your bonuses, that's still really impressive. And again, you do watch as the color strobes beneath this creature, although it is starting to slacken a bit. But you press in there, and I'll say flavorfully, with a 3, you almost don't catch this thing, and one of the tentacles tries to wrap you, but you dodge right around it, and you catch it, and you carve into it like a Thanksgiving turkey. And you watch as now this ichor-like substance is starting to flow from wounds all over and starting to pool on the platform a bit, and it's starting to shake. And as it's shaking, the platform itself is shaking. And Seer, for the first time, is starting to look afraid and says, "If you kill this, we're all going to die."
Well, I guess you should have thought of that before you came at us.
Somewhere in there, there's a bit of logic, but it's not quite reaching her. But this whole area is starting to shake a little more steadily and a little more. Kareem, your wolf pack, what are you guys doing?
Ah, woo. Oh, wait, that's Werewolves of London. Sorry.
Kareem's not the one with the wolf pack.
Oh, nailed it. Steve, what are you and your wolf pack doing?
So is it Kareem or is it me?
It's you.
It's Alaric. Oh, dagnabbit. I was doing so well. Alaric. Dagnabbit. Thought I
All
really...
right.
Alaric, you and your wolf pack.
Me and the wolf pack. All right. Well, the wolf pack is going to change targets and go after the heart.
Okay,
Or
so
whatever it
not
is that-
well. You already bit off the tentacle, but now you're trying to get up to. I will say it's going to be very difficult for the wolf pack to get up to where the angel has carved in, but Kareem has been doing a great job more at like eye level of carving open a space. So
I'm gonna send the wolf after Kareem's location.
I just want you to send the wolf after Kareem, but okay, if you have to.
Kareem's location. Let me specify.
Dagnabbit. All
He's
right.
not a vampire anymore, so the wolves are cool with him.
That is correct. The wolves
All
are
right.
like, "Oh, you smell nice."
So roll a d4.
D4.
Okay.
Plus 7 is 9.
It bites in, tears, and wrenches, and more of this ichor is flowing out. So, yeah, that's really good. Okay, and for your own turn,
For my own turn, let's keep the party going. Purifier arrow, where I
all
have been
right,
shooting.
yeah,
Okay, so 12. Ah! That would be an 11.
Sick.
11, shooting, exploding, boom. I mean, like basically what happened last time, but you're watching as this thing is starting to slow a bit. Its movements are coming down, and the shaking is getting worse and worse. And Seer looks at you and says, "Stop it!" And on Seer's turn, she's going to unsummon the wolf pack. So the wolf pack is just gone. Angel, another memory
I'll say,
comes
what am I
into your
remembering
mind.
this time?
It's very strange. You,
Looking at the
it's
situation we're
almost,
currently in. Okay.
this is, for a moment, it's almost more like a lucid dream. You're, you think you're on Fiora, but you look down at yourself and something's not right. And your hands are smaller, and you're wearing a dress, a very well to do dress that you don't ever remember owning before. You also don't ever remember being young before. As an angel, as a white man, a construct, you don't really remember aging, period. And in this memory, you think you're somewhere between 14 and 16 years old. You don't have any, you don't, that number doesn't come to mind. But for one moment, again, you catch yourself looking down at your hands and catching a glimpse of yourself in a reflection in a mirror, a very ornate mirror in what you gather is a very ornate house. And in this reflection, you have no wings,
Hmm.
but a sense of youthful energy almost rushes into you, and you regain 1 toughness.
Oh.
Drizzle is starting to slow down a bit, but is still very active, contracts, and all of a sudden, this violent red energy is pulsing out from it. It's going to make a. Who's hurt it the most? Probably Kareem or the Angel. Or, well, no, all of you have taken turns. Let's let the dice decide.
Damn
Uh,
it, dice.
that's going to be Alaric, and I do mean Dirk's character, Alaric. Alaric.
Steve.
Your your
Yes.
your defense is, tell me again.
It was 5 minus 1
It's
is
fine.
4.
It's 4. You take 2 damage. Are you still on toughness, or are you to your hit points
I'm
yet?
on toughness.
How many toughness do you have left?
3.
Wow, you had a lot of toughness. Okay. And then for red, it casts Eternity Break, and you watch as the shaking intensifies, and from somewhere above Seer, another face starts to form, but it's not even close to being humanoid. It looks maybe draconian, dragon-ish, meets some sort of beast, and it opens its mouth as it's forming, and it starts to speak an incantation, but as it speaks, the words literally seem to spill out of its mouth. And where this red viscous fluid hits the ground, it immediately spreads out and cracks start to form, and the ground on the platform is starting to break away. The first time this is used, the ground is not gone forever, but you get the sense that if it keeps casting this spell, the platform is going to be bye-bye, which is going to be an issue for at least two of you. Okay. Everybody takes, now this is going to sound really bad, but everybody takes 5 damage minus their defense. So whatever your defense, 6 minus whatever your defense is. So for those of you like Kareem, you're probably fine.
All right, so I lose the toughness I just got back, and another hit point.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, Angel, you're fine because you're not on the ground. You get those 2 back.
Oh.
The other 2 are the only 2 that are affected.
Never mind.
You're flying.
I'm flying.
Yeah.
This is ground based. Gotcha.
Yeah. I will say that the rest of you look around. You take the damage if you would take damage at all. You do see that the walls of this are not entirely uniform. You know, there are tentacles here and there. You could try to find a handhold, but you also gather that being on Drazil may cause its own, may also leave you open to other things. So that I'm not going to tell you how to role play this, but I am saying it's not like a solid surface. It is writhing. Now, Kareem, this thing oozing red mana out of every pore, the light inside it that was pulsing ever since you lost your ring looks like it's almost expended, and that is slowing down as well. You gather that the effect has nearly run its course. What do you want to do?
Okay, can we take stock real quick?
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. So we're very high up in the air.
Yes.
Yes.
And the thing we're standing on is about to crumble.
Sounds like it.
Okay. Do you think finishing it off will stop that or accelerate that?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like on one hand, who knows whether to trust Seer, but on the other hand, it seems kind of obvious that this would be a problem.
I might switch tactics. Hey, Brian, can I switch tactics before we all start wailing on it again?
Sure.
All right, I'm gonna.
You tell me what you want to do. So
I just want to fly up closer to Seer and try again to implore to her to help us stop this, and I'll remind her of this memory I had, and the feelings that I felt for her back then. I was like, it's coming back to me. Like we were friends once. Help us stop this.
I will say that you recall from a previous conversation with her that not only your own memories were wiped out or covered over, but other people like Seer that you had interacted with before seem to also have holes in their memory. And as you say this, there's a light in her eyes, and you gather that as you've been getting this memory back, he may have been as well. So you have a charm of 3, which is an attempt to make a sentient target more agreeable or friendly to you using attraction. This is not that, but this is similar because this is you trying to appeal to her better sense. So what I would say is for this, roll a d10, and you're trying to get through to her, and I am giving you a bonus because she is remembering these things as well, but you are fighting against not only her hatred and her disappointment at all of her schemes being for nothing, but she's now at least somewhat sharing a consciousness with an Eldrazi. So roll a d10 and tell me
Right.
what you get.
All right. I got. Hang on. It's back. It's sitting on the edge of the thing. I don't want to touch it. Let me move the microphone. That is an 8.
An 8. That is very high.
I mean, out of 10, yeah, it's pretty good.
Out of 10, that's 80%. That's a B minus, but
And that's
this ain't
Brian
math
doing
class.
this math, you guys.
Although in high school we had a 7-point scale, which is just evil. But
Yeah.
you say these things, and her initial reaction is just a sneer. But as she looks in your eyes, something changes. And I'll say, for flavor perspective, you start to remember that sim memory you already had, and you remember her eyes. They weren't this color before. Something along the line changed them, and they were originally a very soft sea green. And you just remember this, and she almost gasps as she remembers it too.
So wait, did I say that? Because I feel like I should, while she's thinking this over, I should just go, your eyes were green once. Just seemingly unrelated,
Understood. Hey, let's take. I know we're still going. Can we take like a 5-minute break? I need to go. Apparently, Carrie has an SOS. I don't think it's too serious, but let's take a quick bathroom break if that's all right.
Okay.
Okay. Or you can carry on without me, but I'm not sure how that would work. So I'll be right back.
All right.
All right. Brief intermission while things happen. Actually, okay, Mike and Dirk, I don't want to have to do any editing. I don't want to have to split this video into 2 and join it back together because that will take hours. I have to pee. Will you two have some manner of conversation?
Oh boy.
Okay.
For the love of God. I've had to pee for like 25 minutes. And I'm like, no, just make it to the end.
Okay.
And now there's a break. So, please talk to each other. I don't care about what. One of you can monologue. I don't care. But I gotta pee. Be right back.
So how you doing, Mike?
Pretty good. Trying to every time there's a 4-day week at work, it's just like trying to cram 10 pounds of crap in an 8-pound bag.
Mine is kind of like I told Chewy that I'm as he said at one point was you can't be burned out. You're only like 2 weeks into the school year.
Uh-huh.
But I am feeling the burnout already. And I don't know if it's just like I just don't know. It's just one of those things. Like I've picked up the AP class, and now I'm trying so hard to plan out and have things ready. And so I think taking on a new class like that at this point in my career was probably, I'll get through this, but at the same time, like, I should not do that anymore.
Okay, so like the extra planning for the new course is just really wearing you down.
I really do think so. Yeah, it's just I'm exhausted. Like, I haven't graded anything. I have been giving out assignments. People have been working on assignments, and they are ready to start turning stuff in, and I haven't even started grading stuff. They've been turning, like I said, they've been turning in stuff, and I'm just looking at the pile, going, well, I'll get to it. As soon as I feel like I'm ahead enough, I'll be able to get to it, and it has just not happened. And so,
what are we getting to?
just trying to keep up with work.
Ah,
Because I was telling you that I
Grading
felt
papers.
burned out and everything, and I'm feeling, burned out. I'm feeling worn down.
Is it AP Environmental Science?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's tons of resources, which, I mean, I'm fully appreciative of. I've got wonderful staff members and who have, shared stuff. They've given me advice and everything. But at the same time, like I said, I think deciding to take this on where I am in my career probably was not the best thing, because I feel like I just don't have the stamina to do that and plan it and sort of figure out what I'm doing and making sure I get through everything. Because the one thing that all of the AP stuff has been saying is start from the end and work your way backwards to figure out what you're going to do. And I'm kind of doing that, but I'm finding that there's just no way I can cram everything in. So I've already told the kids that there might very well be just, we have to meet at some point and we're just going to go over stuff outside of, like, we'll
prep
just
for the
during
exam
Panther
at
time
the
or
end.
something, we'll just, during like a study hall or something like that we'll just do something before or after school. I don't know. But yeah.
well, damn.
What about you, Chewy?
What about me? What? I don't know. While we're filling. I started playing. Well, it's not a new game, but I started playing a new game.
What is it?
It's from 2015. Wow, yeah, it's definitely not new. It's really stupid. It's called Free Cell Quest.
Yeah. Sounds like it could be very stupid.
Yeah.
What's it like?
You're playing Free Cell,
like
but
the
you have
card game.
Yeah, but you have gear and experience and spells to cast that do, free cell things. And also every once in a while a card will be highlighted, and if you don't get to it, reveal it at some point, after several seconds, it will do damage to you. So it's like hurry up free cell, but with extras. And because, there are gazillions of free cell games, out there to play, like games of free cell, I mean, not, you know what I mean? You remember in Windows free cell, it would always be like game number and have like a 6-digit number? No? Okay, maybe that's just me. But yeah, it's a giant map, and every town and thing on it is a free cell that you have to win.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's just what I've been doing when I'm not doing anything else. Because I like free cell. Free cell's fun. And this is free cell with extra nonsense. But hey, it sounds like Brian's back.
I am. So sorry about that. I'm back. Is everybody else still here?
Yep.
I left, but I came back.
All right. So, Angel, you had this conversation with Seer, and you do think you are reaching her. It's just a question of how much is her will versus how much of this is Brazil's will acting upon her. Kareem and Alaric, we're shifting the order around a bit. Why don't you guys just tell me what you want to do? You watch the Angel do this, you hear the response. What, if anything, are you guys doing?
So to be clear, we don't appear to be hurting Seer when we hurt Drizil, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Two of you hurt her as she was heading in, and she took heavy damage. And you can see now that where she was slashed before has not completely healed. But as you've been hitting Drizil, you have not seemed to have been affecting her.
Okay, good.
These tentacles, are they like? I mean, I know they're connected to Drizil, but
Are they separate entities? Is that what you're asking?
yeah, and I'm trying to find a sensible way of asking that question.
Sure. So essentially, this appears to be one large organism. And it's either wrapped, it seems to be wrapped around you, although remember, you're not really seeing it from the outside. You're not sure what this would look like. How much of the tree was formed around it versus how much of the tree was it, just in a petrified form. But as it's been attacking, essentially parts of it have become unwrapped from each other, and then sprouting from like the middle of these sections have been tentacles. And you'll notice some of them, none of them seem to have more than maybe 3 fingers or 2 fingers, or some only have 1. None of them have hands, but they have different almost bifurcations along it, and they seem to be able to stretch themselves, although as they stretch themselves longer, it's almost like a putty where they get thinner as they go along. So they're working with the same mass, but it's redistributing itself. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Are you following?
Yeah, it does.
And where the wolf pack bit off the tentacle, that tentacle, it's not like the T-1000 where that mass tried to reintegrate itself into the center. When it was disconnected, it died. Hopefully this helps with whatever you're plotting against my
Okay, yeah.
precious monster.
Yeah. How many more tentacles are still waving around here?
A lot. Like, as a reminder, this creature is, to put it mildly, massive. It is the diameter of this is roughly, well, the platform you're on is about the size of a football field, and it goes all the way around you, and just every we'll say 10 feet or so, you see another tentacle emerge. So there's lots.
So would you say dozens or hundreds? Just trying to get a
Maybe
scale.
less. Sure, maybe less than 100, but not by many.
Okay. So dozens.
9? Yes.
All right. So I'm going to retreat from the wall, whatever you want to call it, and just get closer to Alaric, and I'll swipe at any tentacles that are in the way from between me getting to him.
Okay. I will say that as you leave its space, one tentacle does try to reach out to you, but because you're expecting this, go ahead and roll your attack and see if you can deal some damage, and this will be imported over to the main body.
That one's not as much. Well, maybe it is. 16.
I mean, 16 is still a lot. You almost effortlessly cleave through this tentacle, and again, where the section was that carved off in front of you, it falls to the ground and just turns into a puddle of ichor almost immediately. The rest of it retracts back into the wall. That's a lot of damage. But otherwise, you find yourself next to Alaric. Alaric and Kareem. Buddy cop duo.
Or was it Kareem and Alaric?
Hey, either way.
Well, since you can't tell them apart, yeah.
Alaric, you have not done anything this round. Your wolf pack is gone. It went into the ether.
And it did not change colors, right?
This thing is pulsing red right now.
Pulsing red. All right, I missed that part. Okie dokie. Well, you know what? We're not going to use fire this time.
No.
We're going to do...
That was a good sound.
Mm-hmm. We're going to do silver arrows instead. Actually, you know what? We're going to do the last iron arrow.
Okay.
That way I'm out of those.
What
All
you
right.
shooting at?
The wall thingy. Adieu.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right. Fire your arrow.
Be a 5.
5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and the iron arrow doesn't have any additional.
Has no bonuses or anything.
Okay, you fire it off, and it is deflected off the wall. So you
Well,
tried.
balls.
On her turn, Fear, seemingly moved by the angel's attempt, and you mentioned her eyes. I'm gonna roll. I'm gonna see. Okay. She has a moment where the anger takes over again, and she looks at you, and she says, I remember he gave you everything. Why did he give you everything? And then the color just seems to drain from her face. And she looks up, and she kind of looks around, and she starts trying to pull herself out of Drazil for just a second, and the tentacles seem to almost wrap more around her. And she says, no, you won't take me. All I've ever wanted is to be the master of my own destiny. And she looks at you, the angel, and she says, I'm going to stop this. Can you help me? Do you trust me this one last time, even after everything I've done? And she's asking you that.
Hang on. This is not an in-character pause. This is an out-of-character pause trying to formulate
Right. Yeah, I got
a
you.
response. All right. I'll say All right, I'll say Hang on, I'm trying to figure out how to word this in such a way that the angel would actually say it and that gets my point across.
Okay.
Something to the effect of let me help and we can trust each other.
And for the first time, she smiles. She casts a blue spell. You're not sure which one. You can't quite identify it. But she's not casting it at you. She's casting it down. And you watch as the whole surface of Drazil seems to start slowing, and the shaking starts slowing down as you watch as almost an icy tinge starts to cover Drazil. And she says, all right, hit it as hard as you can. Hit it as hard as you can. All of you, now calling to all of you. She says, when it's weak enough, then we'll push as much mana into it as we can to destroy it. That's what she says. So, going back to Drazil, it now in a frenzy and having lost its control, it thinks over this creature that it thought it had dominion over. It's going to lash out. It pulses blue for the first time. And it's going to make a tentacle attack against the angel, because you're right there and you're trying to talk Deer into doing this thing that it doesn't want.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, Angel, what's your defense currently?
Nope, wrong one. Defense is 4 + 1 - 1, so 4.
Okay, so you will take 2 damage. So you lose that toughness and you take 1 hit point damage, like what we had talked about prior to remembering you were, flying.
Yeah.
And then it's going to cast its blue spell, Eternity Servants, and you watch as, let's see here.
I don't like the sound of that.
Just 2. You watch as 2 spirits seem to materialize on 2 sections of Drazil. All of a sudden, 2 tentacles start to become circular and start expanding outward. And the best you can think of, and this is gross, is like a zit or a wart or something, and it's expanding, and they pop. And 2 translucent spirits, humanoid in shape, are just floating in the air. And they're kind of, from where you are, Angel, and from where the other 2, they're kind of just equidistant, trying to essentially cover everyone at once. But we've added 2 spirit tokens to this mess.
So it's like, is it a wart, a corn, assist, a festering boil?
That's a reference to something, and yes.
Sorry, it's a Bloodhound
about?
Gang song.
Okay. But that is Drazil's turn. You 3, in any order you want. Seer has instructed you to hit it as hard as you can, although now you have these 2 other things. What do all of you do?
I'm going to shoot it.
Shoot what?
Shoot
the thing.
Drazil? Shoot
the
Drazil,
thing.
not the spirits. I'm just
not the spirits. Drazil.
Okay. All right. What are you shooting it with?
Color?
It's blue. It's blue.
It's blue. Purifier arrow.
All right. Shoot.
9.
9. All right. Marked for 9. Okay.
And plus 2
I will
makes
note
it
that
11.
Right.
Actually,
okay.
plus
Total
3 is the thing from before.
So 12.
So
12. Yeah. Okay, that's different than 9. So okay. All right.
It is, in fact.
You shoot that off. It seems to impact. I will note that the strobing color from before from the ring is now completely gone. As you shoot this, what are the other 2 doing?
Scimitar attack again. That seems to do a lot of damage.
Okay. You had backed up to Alaric. Are you now rushing forward again?
Yes, that's what I'm gonna do.
All right. Okay. Go ahead and make your attack.
All right. What is this number? Is it 16?
16.
Jesus.
12 and 16. An angel up there, face to face with Seer, her pleading with you. What do you do?
All right. Is she just? I'm still completely not sure what this is we're dealing with. Are we? Like, everyone keeps saying they're hitting the wall. So is she just in essentially a wall of creature?
She essentially is in a wall of creature. You cannot see her chest. Really, all you can start to see like the bottom of her neck and where it meets the
Okay.
collarbone, and you can see now 2 arms outstretched. And for a minute, it did look like she was trying to claw her way free, and it was trying to submerge her, but she's kind of between that. It doesn't appear to be pulling her in at the moment, but she's kind of in the wall a bit, yes. And as we said before, this vaguely dragon-ish slash beastish huge face has now formed above her, um, glaring down at all of you that had spewed the red spell before.
And it is currently also blue, like from
It's
her
yeah,
from her spell,
yes.
not just because of its own aura.
Yeah, well, yeah, its aura is blue, but it's also covered with this thin sheen of ice, and it seems to be moving slower than before. So yes.
All right. Well, because I am both the angel, a badass, and a drama queen, I'm going to go. How far above her is the face?
It's a pretty good distance. I'll say you can get there in just one turn, but you would have to fly up like straight at it. Uh, I would
Aw.
say it's probably a good
It's too far away to hit
40
this
feet above
combat
her.
or this turn, is what you're saying.
No, no, you can hit it this turn
Oh.
if you fly straight up at it. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Well,
You can just reach it.
that works in my idiom because I, as a drama queen and a badass, my plan was to fly directly up to the face and try to hit it extremely hard with my big ass Ethereum longsword because
All right.
while bellowing in rage
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
know.
Go ahead, roll your attack.
All right. So, I've lost all my toughness again. Yes, I have.
Yeah.
Okay.
So frenzy.
So, let's roll this. How does it go back there? It's oh lord, it got stuck. Okay, let's try it again. Push those together. Roll this. It's in the floor. Hang on. I am the world's worst. What does that say? Oh, it says 10. Okay, so
10.
plus.
So
Okay, hang on. 4 power, so 14. 2 frenzy, so 16. What am I missing? Heavy weapons, so 19.
19.
I can't reach it though. the dice, not the face.
So, for dramatic purpose, she tells all of you to hit it as hard as you can. Angel, you stare at her for just a moment longer, just trying to figure out, are you going to take her at her word or not? And then at the same time, all 3 of you act. You start flying up at this face as Kareem, yes, Kareem, takes out his scimitar again and rushes at the wall and reaches it and starts carving away just as Alara loosens a purifier arrow that explodes on impact as you stab this thing in the forehead and bring your sword down the length of its face. And it writhes, and the face starts to disappear back into its central mass. And as it does so, all over the length of this thing, all of a sudden, every tentacle starts to go back into it. And where it goes back, it starts to be replaced by another face. Some of them human, some of them elvish, dwarvish, Kithkin, you swear, a million different creatures, except that they all look like creatures or creature types that you have seen on Trivester. And for a minute, you have a question of like, how much is this seen? How much has it been connected to everything on this plane? And Seer yells at you, now. And she starts channeling mana into a massive spell. And she asks all of you, give me any mana you can. So, how much mana left do each of you have?
Unfortunately, we established earlier that I don't know.
Well, how much do you
None.
think you have? Well, none. You're tapped out. Okay. Kareem, how much do you think you have?
So I probably use that and the other thing. What did I use? Okay, I probably used
Excuse me.
one. I don't know. I probably have 4 left. I probably
Okay.
used 7. I probably have 4 left.
Okay, that's fair enough. And Angel?
So I didn't get all my mana back after the last one, and I know I used a
Right.
break open and a manifest
Mhm.
white.
Right.
And I think you said that would cost me 3 and a white for what I wanted to
Yes.
do. So
That sounds correct.
So I 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I have 4 left.
Okay. She is clearly trying to do something. In this moment, for flavor purposes, you can gift her any amount of mana that you want. Do you want to gift her all the mana you have left, some, or none? Alaric, you've got none to give. You're tapped out,
Yep.
so it's up to you other guys.
Yeah, I'll dump what I've got because I
Okay.
said I'd trust her.
Okay. Kareem?
Yeah, I'll give what I have left.
Okay. You do that. You send it into her. You bolster her mana. And for a minute, nothing seems to happen. And then a white flash. And everyone thinks they've gone blind and deaf. And then set against a pure white background, each of you is first aware of the others. Think of it as you almost think you're in a giant white void. And you look at each other.
Is this like when Gandalf woke up after fighting the Balrog and dying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But then he's joined by 200 other Gandalfs. It's really weird.
Spoilers, I guess.
Isn't that what happened? And then Gandalf the Grey and Gandalf the Purple and Gandalf the... But... And then looking around at this formless expanse, all of you look, and together, maybe about 10 feet away, you see Seer. And she just looks sad. And she says, I'm sorry. And she looks right at the angel. And she says, thank you. And then she does kind of a Infinity War dusting, where all of a sudden she just turns into particles. And as she does so, the color comes back around you. And all of you find yourselves right where you were positioned before, although I'll say the angel just through all this, you are now back on the ground. And you look around, and Brazil has returned to its normal coloration. And you look at where fear was, and you see what appears to be her body. And as you watch an amulet that had been around her neck, and you think you may have seen her pull out at one point, falls and hits the floor, and with a loud crack, turns to dust. And all of you feel something you haven't felt in a very long time. You
Is it a
feel
spark?
your spark almost seeming to ignite again.
So did we win? I'm gonna walk up and knock on the tree.
Seems solid. Nothing reaches out and tries to grab you. But there's a hollow, while it almost seems to change texture. You knock it once, sounds almost like just a solid wood or something. Twice, it starts to take on almost a metallic sound. And the third time, a ringing that almost seems to turn into a bell. And then you realize that the sound isn't coming from the wall, it's coming from all around you. And in a flash, kind of in the center of your group, is a spectral image of the man that you remember from your memory as Donathier. And he kind of looks at all three of you. And he looks. You see a range of emotions play across his face. First, sadness, and then resignation, and then almost a little bit of happiness. And he kind of does a slow clap. And he says, I'm so sorry for all the pain that she caused, but thank you for helping her at the end. He then does kind of a low bow where he puts his right arm in front of him and then bows over it a bit, and he says, I'm so sorry I've been quite the negligent host. As I'm sure you've gathered, I'm Donathier. Welcome to my home, the paradise I tried to build, but I'm afraid even the best laid plans go to waste.
Where have you been?
He kind of looks around and he says, here, there, everywhere, but mostly here, and he kind of taps his foot down. I was once a planeswalker like yourselves, but I wielded immense power before the calamity that some call the mending. When the mending occurred, I'm afraid I was powerless. I was already draining my essence into this plane, and I couldn't stop it. This creature, he goes over and gestures at the wall, was an ancient Eldrazi, one of an unknown number of titans. All of the Eldrazi titans have this unique ability to bend some part of reality to their will. One bends biology, another bends space. Drazil, since it didn't have another name, spent energy. When I was able to subdue it and put it into a stasis, it worked as a perfect conduit. It allowed me to channel my own energy, and it also allowed me to create portals and bring other creatures here en masse to give them a sanctuary from where they otherwise would have died off. When I was connected to it, I was always running the risk of opening it up, awakening it again, but with my will, it stayed under. As I felt my life being drained away and my essence being broken into a million pieces, all I could do with the last of my will was keep that energy from waking this creature up. When the pod was destroyed, my essence started to regather, but not in time to stop this. I'm glad that you and Seer could work together at last to bring it down. Don't worry, you've completely destroyed its biological function. Its essence has been destroyed. What that means for the plane, I don't know in the long run. I suppose that's up to the people and creatures that live here. I had hoped that Seer and Gander, Eichelnir, and the others would oversee it after I left or when I couldn't come anymore. Suppose you would consider them my heirs to this place, but perhaps I was wrong to meddle with anything. Perhaps this place just belongs to the people that live here. And he looks at the angel and he says, I remember you, and I remember hoping that this place would be yours. I'm sorry we lost track of each other a long time ago.
Mine?
And you're now feeling more and more memories come back, and it's your character, so I'm not gonna. You can decide what you remember and what you don't. But he says, I was always so proud of you. And he smiles. Planeswalking isn't generally a genetic gift. In fact, the multiverse seems to discourage it, whether through the efforts of some higher power to avoid a dynasty of universe jumping tyrants, or just through whim, or the fact that it's so unusual for a planeswalker to be born at all. So you could imagine my delight when my own daughter had a spark. But
excuse me?
don't worry, it'll come back to you. Perhaps the story of how you came to be who you are, that's not up to me, that's up to you. Perhaps the story of how you came to be the creature that you are, majestic. And I suspect probably still a little more than spunky. That's up to you too. But yes, I wanted all of this to be yours because I knew that you would always cherish it and love it as I did. So I want to thank you, and he turns to each of you. I want to thank you for doing what I couldn't do. And I know that you were not here by choice. And I know they say that planeswalkers can always leave. And what really makes a special planeswalker, one that deserves their power, is when they choose to stay. And I know you didn't have any say in the matter. but I am so glad that you saw this through.
See, this is where it'd be really funny if I was like, all right, then I'm out, and just blink away, but...
And as he says this, you watch as the edges of his form start to dissipate. And he says, I've used up what little energy I had to come together. I don't really belong in this world anymore, but I imagine given enough time, we'll see each other all again. Just give me a couple millennia to pull myself back together. And he kind of gives a wink. And with that, he seems to blow almost out of existence. Although at the very end, you swear there's almost that insignia, that mark, that signature scent feeling of when a planeswalker departs for another plane. But it's so faint you can't be sure. And you are left, the three of you, alone at the top of this world.
And as he disappears, I hold out hand and I go, wait, what's my name? But he's gone.
Yep. Well, you feel like if you keep remembering things, maybe you'll get there. But the tide seems to have slowed a bit. You're not sure if it'll continue. You're not sure if it'll take some other world-ending event to bring about another series of dramatically convenient flashbacks. But for the moment, you have this merging sensation. The person that you've known yourself to be ever since you've started making memories again. The person that these two people next to you know that you are, merging with someone that you haven't seen in a long time, a younger version of yourself. It's like being a teenager again, very awkward, but you're somehow brimming with self-confidence you may or may not have earned. And you're okay with that.
And I'm super horny. No, wait.
If you have to. And just so we don't let the angel have all the main character, each of you other two, Kareem, you look back on all your experiences these last couple months now, if not weeks, let's say weeks, from getting here unexpectedly to punching a merfolk in the face, because apparently they're more vulnerable on this plane than they are elsewhere. Meeting ancient creatures and discovering ancient lore, to finding your whole destiny changed for some time with the vampiric curse and coming to face to face with Gander, only to have it removed voluntarily at the end. And Alaric, you think of not only what all you've come across, but your reminders of where you've come from. These symbols of Avacyn's collar that you've seen since you've been here. The wolves, the king of Tyr, the clearly affected by some form of lycanthropy. The alpha wolf downstairs, if you want to revisit it. And all of these, less of the angels, curing amnesia, but also yourself, kind of a hearkening back to what makes you you and how far you've come. And you've never felt a strong urge to go back to Innistrad. You've always thanked whatever gods you may hold to that you had the power to stay away. As a planeswalker, no one forced you to go back. For the first time in years, you feel the distant call of the place where you grew up. And maybe while you lost people, good people, to this curse, you maybe think about who may still be there. But all of you, drained of mana, completely hurt, some cases bleeding.
That's me.
Before you do anything, you all collapse to the floor.
Nice.
And thus ends our now multi-year story of Heirs of Trivester. Will we ever see these characters again? Who knows?
Probably not.
Probably not. But I want to thank everyone that has followed us on this journey. As sporadic as it was, there were some years where we did like one episode with this all year. The rules changed a lot. This was very clearly a prototype, and I changed them, and I'm happier with where they ended up. I think one of my biggest lessons from when I started was that I spent so much time in creating this system that you guys were asking questions I didn't know how to answer in the second dang episode that I realized, you know what? I need to be flexible. And that was probably the single best lesson I could have learned. But I had a ton of fun with this. I want to thank these three guys for going along with me on this, for humoring me on this, for keeping up with these weird rules, whether or not they made sense, punching all sorts of things, and Dirk shooting all sorts of things, and the angel flirting with the waitress, and all that. And I want to thank Jars for the amazing, especially the map that he drew of Trivester.
Fantastic.
Just chef's kiss. And I know for some people RPGs are not their thing, and I get that, but I want to thank everybody that followed us on this crazy journey.
Yeah.
And I mean that in like so many ways.
And I've been threatening to do this for a while, but I'm going to go back and get the old episodes from before YouTube and give them a video component and upload them to YouTube and make it a playlist there.
I have the numbers for those if you need them.
Yeah, I've got them in one of these notepad files here somewhere that I'll track down.
Okay.
And if nothing else, I'll just do a search on the site. But I know I wrote them all down somewhere. Oh, here it is. 407, 423, 430, and 450. So only 4 episodes were before the video.
Oh, really? Okay.
407. Dear God, this is 705.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So 300. It has not been 300 episodes of this. That would be insane. But over the course of 300 episodes.
Good Lord.
I still like episode 590, not the bees.
Yeah.
So.
What
So over the course of 300 episodes, meaning over a span of about 6 years.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah, I was thinking it was 2016. Oh, no, it wasn't. Was it 2015? No. Okay. 20... There's not a... Oh, there is... There used to be a search button here. Oh, it's down here. Here we go. What did I say? 407?
Yeah, 407.
Yes. The 407 was the character creation.
Yeah,
episode.
407 was character creation. 423 was where we started.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Really?
Yeah. 407,
Yeah, it took us a
423,
hot minute.
430. Trying to see what the largest gap was between. You could tell we went in spurts because there was like 521, 531, 543. Those were some of the tightest. 559, and then actually in the 500s was our tightest. But then we'd go a long time. So, but it's been a blast, and I hope that it's been a net positive for everybody. I know that not everything made sense all the time, and hey, I hope you still enjoyed it throughout.
Yep.
Is my character literate?
It was a relevant question.
It was.
That was the library episode. That was one where I had the air elemental, and I believe in my description I mentioned the air elemental as an it, because I was like, it's a creation. It's not male or female. And then somebody in the comments posted, hey, the preferred pronouns for non-binary are they, them. And I thought, well, I mean, it doesn't, I struggled with that, not because I wanted to disagree, but I was like, I don't even see that, like, this is literally something that I don't know how much sentience it even had, but that was something where I had not even really heard a lot of those terms before. So
Yeah, that's how long we've been doing the damn RPG.
Yeah. Pronouns. So there were so many times where I had so many things that I thought you guys would do, and you went to the king in tier, and I'm like, hey, Alaric, yes, Alaric. There's all these Avacyn symbols, and I had written out a whole combat thing if you fought the king at night, and Alaric, Dirk was playing and was like, let's get out of here. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that would be a thing you would want to do too. Oh, okay. So every GM DM learns at somewhere along the line that you're going to construct something, and the players are going to be like, nope. There was a whole town on the western side of this map that you guys never went to, and that's okay.
That's
because funny. Yeah. Because I always wanted you guys to feel like...
As much fun as I want to stay and chat and everything, it is 10:30, and I need to go to bed.
All right. Good night, Zerk.
Good night, Dirk.
Good night, Dirk.
All right. Good night, guys.
I did not even notice it was that late.
I think, and I've been watching for like ever since we've kind of started to do the recap, and I mean, we could always do a recap another episode, but I didn't know if we wanted to spend a whole episode doing that. So I thought I would go and cover at least some of the highlights now. But it is getting late. I'm actually doing okay because I've been looking forward to doing this. I will also, out of pure what's the word I'm looking for? Transparency. I had a rough plan for this whole thing since the beginning, but I did not have everything prepped for every single area, which is why there would be episodes where it'd be like, "Are we want to do this?" And I'm like, "I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready. Let's do something else. Mythic conscription, please." So, yeah. You have to think on your feet sometimes. So.
Yeah. What? Oh God, there was something specific I was gonna ask you about your alternate plans for. Was it the pod? It was the pod.
Yeah, it was the pod. You used break open on it, and if you had not broken it, I had this whole scenario planned out where if you subdued Seer, she would kind of be the final boss. She had a couple of things she could do, and it was going to be a question of if you killed her but the pod was still there, would someone go into the pod and like just try to refresh the mana of the plane, or would somebody be stuck there like almost in Donathir's position, kind of like you think about and Dirk's gone, but I think well, I never played World of Warcraft. I know some of the lore, and like didn't the Lich King die and now somebody else is sitting on the frozen throne because there must be a Lich King, just like there must be a captain of the who's the Davy Jones, the Flying Dutchman must have a captain or whatever. So I was wondering if were you guys gonna keep someone there or whatever, and you destroyed the pod, and I'm like, well, that's not gonna be the plan anymore. So I had tried to draw out a couple ideas, and then when you destroyed it, I'm like, all right, that's gonna wake up Drizzil, which I had in my head since the beginning, was this fossilized creature. And originally in my head, it was a Phyrexian dreadnought. But keep in mind, we've also been doing this since what'd you say, 2016?
Yep.
So we've seen a lot of creatures, planes, ideas come and go in the meantime. Which, and part of that was the Bulls arc, which I had already had the thought of, hey, Seer's going to want to steal somebody's spark. We've already seen that a little bit on Mirrodin. Yawgmoth tried to do it for forever and just couldn't do it. So it wasn't that original idea. But I thought, well, what about stealing from multiple planeswalkers? And then they're like, yeah, the Elder Spell. Nicol Bolas is going to do that. I'm like, great. As well
Bitches.
as well as the thought of so many ideas came and went, like the whole Norse theme for this set. Every town was a scrambled version of a Norse myth. Some scrambled, some not, like Tyr is straight out of Norse mythology. Obviously,
Yeah.
Drazil is a reference to Yggdrasil, things like that. So when we went to Kaldheim, I was like, haha, the whole eternal sun locking planeswalkers, keeping them from being able to planeswalk. I'm
They
like,
totally
ha.
snatched that from you. You had that idea ever and ever before that.
Well, I had to do it like at the beginning, because keep in mind the whole idea for this, when we started this, we were still very much a Magic podcast. And the whole idea was taking the April Fool's episode. We don't do that, but taking that one episode and expanding into something that we could play that wasn't just me reading a choose your own adventure, because holy cow, I don't have time to do all that, and it's not as interactive. And so I was working in the constraints of the Magic the Gathering system, and I wanted the main characters to be able to be planeswalkers. But what's the problem with that is that, okay, you think it's hard enough to have a whole plane prepped. What if you're like, I want to go to Tarkir, and I'm like, okay, now I have to learn all about Tarkir and like the places you can go on Tarkir and the people that are there. And you're there for 5 minutes, and then you're like, I want to go to Kaladesh. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. So you can't planeswalk away at the very beginning of the very first episode was a way to be like, hey, you're planeswalkers, because we know what that means in Magic. Now you're going to be where I want you to be, where the story's going to take place. That was the only way for me to do it that made any sense. Truthfully, if we thought we wanted to expand this, which we'll get to that in a second, I wouldn't mind. I feel like I've got enough under my feet where I could try to do something where you could planeswalk. And especially since they've done the mending and they've said that planeswalkers get exhausted from planeswalking before Omen Paths, then it wouldn't, then we could say, okay, you can do that once a day, and I could work with that. Now, what I want to say is, as much fun as I've had with this, I've learned a whole lot about creating games. I really have. And as much fun as I've had with this, I look back on the system I've created, and I had all these grand ideas, and a lot of it is just, it's not bad, but it's just, it's not all workable. I mean, the fact that even in the last fight here, you're like, what does this magic cord do? And 15 minutes later, it's not even a magic cord, it's a magic card. And having to like make sure we know how Forge works and all that. I don't mind doing some improvisation, but if I'm having to improv some of the bigger rules, and then that's clearly, that may not be an issue with the system, it may be an issue with the designer, but it amounts to the same thing. So, if you've enjoyed this,
what did my magic card do?
it was going to be something where it was going to be a random spell. But so Angel's still carrying it around somewhere. Watch, it'll be a Wrath of God. Everybody dies. And that's the other problem with working in in the Magic the Gathering system, is that so many spells are just like destroy all these things. And in a system where, like, if I was just like, oh, by the way, Chewie, you're dead, that kind of breaks this in half, you know?
Yeah.
So, if you enjoyed this, I'm not saying we'll ever do anything like this. Chewie is not an RPG, at least a tabletop RPG kind of guy. You've said that on more than one occasion. But Chewie and I did discuss some time ago I said that as I've worked on this system, I've got ideas for, I think, a system that is way, way, way more solid. Will we ever explore it? Question mark. Because after the last couple of years of doing this, I think everybody needs at least a little bit of downtime. But if you enjoyed this and you want to see something like it, we can probably try to make that happen. But I'm not going to tie Chewie's hands. The mana pool is still very much his baby, and we will talk about what Chewie says to talk about. I make it sound like we don't have any input. Everybody has input. But if you like this, you may see something similar to it in the future, or you
From
may
now
not.
on, we're only talking about big old anime boobies
Oh, I thought you were going to say gophers.
and gophers.
Gophers with anime. No.
Yeah,
no,
I mean, no.
no. That I'm sure that's a Rule 37 somewhere. 39? I don't know what the rules.
34.
I'm bad at the rules. 34.
Yeah.
34. Mike,
my God.
of all of us, you were the one with the most role-playing experience going into this. You can level any criticism that you want at me. I promise. I'm good with it. I would just like to know your takeaway from this whole experience.
Careful, Mike. The next thing out of his mouth will be, and then Alaric died. Wait, no, Kareem.
Dag nabbit.
No, so yeah, the story was interesting to hear unfold. Sometimes it was a little confusing keeping track of all the different characters we met, but that was partly because some of our sessions were 6 months apart.
Yeah, that was a large chunk of that was my bad, because especially in the early days, Brian was like, "I'm not ready yet," and then when he was, I'm like,
Yeah.
"Man, I don't want to do that."
I had originally envisioned it as being like a in a month sort of thing, and the 2/3 factors that completely derailed that were, number one, I was not ready, and I knew that making a game would be a lot of work, but holy cow. I was also at the beginning like, if the characters ask about this, this is his response. If they ask about this, I tried to plan too much out. Like, you should see the paragraphs I wrote for the elder in the first town. So that was part of the issue with me. Part of the issue was, is this something everybody wants to do? And part of it is, it's really tough to do like once a month in never-ending preview season when we've got so much other stuff that is more time sensitive.
God, I'm glad we don't care as much about that anymore.
Shadow Mantle. Wait, no, I haven't met that. I wasn't even trying. Dagnabbit. But sorry, Mike, you were talking and then we chimed in. Lots of people to remember who you talked to. Yes.
Yeah. It's good that you were willing to revise the system to just make it work a little better, especially the magic system, because the way it worked before is like attempting to cast anything that costs more than 2 in combat just wasn't worth it at all. So freeing that up a bit made it a lot more fun.
Good.
People got to use their abilities more.
Good.
And I really hated your insistence on keeping track of how much food we were all eating. I'm like, can we not just take that as a given and get to the good part?
Part of that was I was trying to frame part of this as a survival sort of thing because the way the plane works, I wanted to have a little bit of that in there, but I definitely get that it could be tedious. So notice that we didn't talk about that as much later on.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Which I appreciated so much.
And I will say, to Mike's comment about the spells, the trick with trying to turn magic into an RPG is magic is all about the progression over a game. You start with no lands, and you end with, like 10. Or if you're playing against mono red, you end with like 3. But it's a growth. Whereas in a single combat, in an RPG, you don't really want to start from scratch every time, because then every combat will take forever. The other issue with trying to translate Magic the Gathering into an RPG and using like I'm like, oh, I don't have to worry about creatures because I have like so many years worth of creature cards. Here's a grizzly bear, a giant badger, whatever. All I have to do is go to Gatherer. What's the issue with that? The issue with that is that unless I am throwing like, 10 at you immediately, everything is small. So, like, your first encounter with a merfolk, he dies in one hit because it's a 1/1 or a 2/2, you know? And at the same time,
Right.
you guys are pretty frail as well, and it's hard to make combat tense. Yes, it can be tense if you could die at any moment, but again, how fair is it to pit a 3/3 against a 10/10? How does that even work? So, part of the issue was my insistence on trying to make Magic the Gathering work as an RPG. And should we ever attempt something like this again, as Chewy has said, we're not really married to Magic. I mean, the divorce was ugly. They got the kids. Chewy's gonna be paying alimony for years, but we don't feel inclined to adhere to that. We can do something completely whatever we want to do. It's the mana pool. We can do the mana pool. So
Yeah. Although I will say, almost certainly, if we ever do another RPG thing, it will not be on the mana pool. It will be a separate thing.
hmm
Like dorks just chatting.
which makes sense because then people, much like what you're going to do with the video series, is people that look for that can
Know
look
where
for
to
that,
find it.
And people that are like not my cup of tea are not going to be like, why am I listening to this?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I still find it funny that I seem to be the one doing the most actual role play.
Well, and I remember you saying that before, but I think it's just recent. Like I know recent sessions, I just feel like there haven't been situations where I've had as many clever things to do, but there have been here and there. I had some good ones early on. I do remember.
Yeah.
I think it was cyclical, and I tried to give everyone, and again, part of that is on the player and part of that is on the GM. I tried to give everyone story beats, so it didn't feel like any one person was the main character. Now, the angel having amnesia, everybody knows amnesia is both a cliche and a treasure trove of character development because your character already has backstory you don't even know about. So, and when there was the opportunity to put in there that the angel had been here before and didn't remember it, that was great. And the others didn't have that same sort of access. But so, Alaric, running into all of this stuff from Innistrad was kind of part of his thing, and it was up to him whether or not he wanted to take it. And I think Dirk trying to role play it, that was a part of his past he did not want to confront. So that was kind of the trick with that. And then Kareem going
I'm
off
legit
where
surprised he didn't shoot your vampiric ass in the face, by the way, Mike.
Yeah, I lucked out there.
I think that like it's one of those things where I think PC player characters do things to NPCs they would not do as willingly to another person. If he just ran into a vampire that was not Kareem, he'd be like dead. But and then Kareem, the whole vampiric thing, which I know you didn't set out to do, but you got separated from the others, which was not something you wanted to do, but was a great opportunity to explore you differently and put you through different perspectives. And then running into Gander and having all that happen, I thought you really made some interesting choices with that. So you did have a lot of interesting development there, maybe not as much toward the end of the story. Yes.
Sorry, let me clarify. I didn't mean role playing as in that sort of thing. I meant what I meant to say was like creativity in combat. Like we all had these neat. Didn't all of us get a manifest ability?
All of you got a manifest ability that was basically my attempt to go, you know what? let's let these guys express themselves and have some fun with these colors. That was my attempt to do that. And Dirk used his once, I think.
Did he?
Kareem, you had one, right? Or did you not get one because you were a vampire? That No, you had Manifest Red.
Yeah.
Wait, was that how you used the haste spell, or was that a haste spell? I can't remember.
Yeah, that's what I used for haste. I can't remember.
Hey.
I'd used it once before. I can't remember on what.
Okay.
I think Chewy you used yours the most.
Oh yeah. I was forever trying to figure out a way. Really, if I'm being perfectly honest, the reason I kept wanting to use it was to, I can't say that on the show, was to mess with you.
Well,
Let me think
it.
of something off the wall that Brian will have to plan around.
I loved it. That was great. To me, that was interesting. So every time you did it, I was like, yes.
It's like, I'm gonna make a big ass wall of light for these things to maybe not maybe stop them from running into us. And Brian was like,
Sounds good. And then like, hey, here's a floor of booby traps. How about we not walk on the floor? And protection is a thing. So yeah. Had I been a better GM, I would have planned out more spells, but the magic system was always tricky to work with.
Yeah.
So I knew when you got those, I could kind of see where the campaign was going. And I did not want you to get to the end of the game without having something you could at least use. The manifest spells and the break open was the most used spell other than manifest. And I think that
was it?
I am not ashamed of that at all.
Pretty sure I used Aura Conversion a lot.
Well, that's true.
Because I'm all about being a glass cannon and ending fights immediately so we can get on with it.
But the time, maybe break open stands out to me more.
Because it's so stupid.
It was only ever going to be a joke. And you used it to completely change the narrative of the last two episodes. So
I thought about trying to use it again on the outer shell of the Eldrazi, and I went, nah. We seem to be doing okay without it. I'll just keep wailing on this thing.
Yeah, it had a lot of toughness and hit points, but you guys just were cleaving through it.
What was gonna okay, now that we're done, what was gonna happen if I didn't try to convince Seer to help us? Were we all gonna die?
Not necessarily. It would have if you didn't help her, you would have had to either kill her because she was determined to you messed up her plans. She thought she was gonna die on this plane and she didn't want to. Kill her, or the Eldrazi potentially would. If it got low enough, it would start sucking life out of her. And then when you killed it, it was going to be a question of, were you going to use some sort of combination of manifests or something to try to keep the frame of this giant tree thing from collapsing on you? Or what was going to were you going to try to fly them away or what? But it was going to collapse. By convincing her to join you, I thought, okay, well, now's a flavorful way to... You killed it. You removed its last hit point, and then before it dies, she essentially destroys its essence so that its physical form remains.
Yeah, I was already trying to figure out, okay, if everything's about to fall, can I get everyone on like an invisible woman style, like floating platform and move us down to the ground?
You could have tried. The thing was, this thing was so tall. The ability, as you know, I was rolling a die at the beginning of every turn to see what color Drazil was going to be, and each one had those unique spells. And I know that when I'm planning this final battle, at this point I was not feeling as beholden to magic, which is why you're like, what the hell is that? And I'm like, it's something unique to this. They were all Eternity, blah, 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 because they're all Eldrazi spells.
Yeah. When you said the second one was Eternity Growth, I was like, oh...
Yeah.
It's a cycle.
So the Eternity Break was the red one. And for the description, I said Drazil cracks open the ground beneath the characters, dealing 1d8 damage minus their defense to each if they're on the ground. The third time this is used, the ground beneath the players is gone, and they must either fly or cling to Drazil's form. And if they're clinging to it, then the tentacle attack turns into a writhing mass attack, which can deal a lot more damage, but only affects the characters on Drazil. But you managed to deal
Good
enough
Lord.
damage quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, when I rolled my stupid... Okay, this is how bad I am at rolling dice on my setup here. When I rolled a 1, I said, oh, it got stuck. It landed. It wedged itself between my tablet and my glass with a corner up. And I was like, come on, man. So I picked it up, and when I rolled it again, I tried desperately, like I pushed this gap closed, and it bounced off the tablet, hit my leg, and rolled way over there under the desk. And I was like, I can't see that, man. I don't know if we're all dead.
This and the battle against the Sliver Overlord were the only battles that I felt like you guys just didn't completely take over from the very beginning. And that, again, all goes to balance issues. So,
yeah. The last two were good stuff.
Yeah. Seer had a list of spells, and she probably should have counterspelled Dirk's summon, and I kind of let it go. So I had her do the Psionic Blast, and
I was wondering about that because you had said she was clearly, gathering up blue mana, and Dirk was like, I'm gonna wolf pack, and I was like, and then you're like, all right, there's a wolf pack, and I went, oh, what?
Yeah, I probably should have, but but she had the one use time stretch, and that was when that was gonna kick in on her turn. The turn that you guys eliminated its last toughness, and you were starting to get rid of its hit points. So that was when I said the skin kind of cracked open. So I said, all right, it's go time, and it got a couple turns in a row. So, which I liked, but I also knew could be kind of tedious. So I didn't want to let her do that more than once, because it's interesting in RPGs, if there's action economy is a thing, and if there's 5 of you against 1 of me or 1 enemy, you have an inherent advantage. But if I start giving myself multiple turns, that's multiple turns of all of you just kind of like staring at each other. So have to be careful with that.
Yeah.
But I knew also if I said time stretch, that you would know what that meant. And so there'd be a little bit of like, aw, snap. So
I am impressed that I didn't manage to die. I got down to 2 hit points left.
Yeah.
Twice.
You were low. Yeah.
So yeah, that was glass cannon. Everyone else? Are you guys hurt? No? Piss.
Alaric had so much toughness. I kept asking, do you have any toughness? He's like, yeah. Toughness for days. I'm like, all right. He was a tank build. He was the monk tank that shot people from a distance away. But hey, it worked.
Well, dear listeners, do let us know what you thought, not only of, the final episode here, but of the whole shebang. Like I said, I'm going to, over the next few days when I have time, I'm going to try to turn these RPG episodes into, or the 4 that are missing, into videos, get them all up on YouTube, and make a playlist. Because that sounds fun. And then I'm going to listen to that playlist while I do stuff.
Please be sure to not note all of the GM's inconsistencies. They will make your head hurt.
Oh, I didn't even tell you. I found one during this episode.
I'm sure you did.
Because in my personal notes here, Tyr, the land, adds white mana, and when you call it, you get +0/+2 for the remainder of the encounter. And that's what I used for the Sliver Overlord fight. Or, no, the one before that. Whatever that was. But...
Okay.
on your sheet that you had redone, that you sent, it says, tier, while it's untapped, you have +1 defense.
Yeah, the ability changed.
I was
yeah,
like-
that was a retcon. That was done on purpose.
I was like, I wonder when that happened.
because that was less of a, the way it was before. You just want to tap it every combat, even if you didn't need the mana. Whereas
I only used it when I was casting spells, but yeah.
right, whereas the way it was now was more of a, which do you want to do, which is more valuable to you.
Yeah.
So.
But because on one of the more recent previous episodes, I never opened the file, the one that you sent me. I was just using my old one. So I kind of use it.
I got you.
But
Well,
yeah, I
now
spotted that tonight and was like, that's pretty funny.
Now it is well and truly late,
Yep.
especially for me. So I am going to I'm going to stick around until Chewie signs off, but I'm going to go and say my final thought, and my final thought is basically everything we've been talking about for the last 20 minutes. So thank you guys again for joining me on this wild ride. And there were times where I'd be a bit discouraged because I think it's tough to design something and see all the flaws in it, and I felt like I saw more in it than anybody else did.
Well,
And
of course
I
you
felt
did.
frustrated. But looking back, it was such a great exercise, and if everybody got a good time out of it, then that was what counted.
Yeah.
I know this is, I don't really talk about the D&D campaign that I'm doing on here a whole lot. I've mentioned that I'm running one with my daughter and Mike and Dirk and my brother, and I'm not going to recap or anything, but Mike, did you enjoy the last session we did on Saturday?
Yes, I did.
Jimmy apparently loved it. Like, he texted me later in the day, and he was just like, this was amazing. I had so much fun with it. He said that I'm a talented DM, which I always appreciate that. I was on my heels the whole time. Sorry to drone on about it, but man, that was fun. And he said later he couldn't stop thinking about it. And he has played D&D for a long time. And I saw Mom and Dad for dinner on Sunday, and they don't play. They tried like 2 sessions with Sam and I, and they're like, it's not our thing. And they said, we talked to Jimmy. He really enjoyed what you did last. I'm like, wow, really? So I gotta say, I've always enjoyed creative writing. Always. But the problem is I don't always finish a story. But these role-playing games have been such a great way to, I think of it as almost like collaborative storytelling, where the person, the
that's
GM,
what
DM,
that's what tabletop RPGs are.
right?
Like, that's the whole point.
And that's the whole point. I know some people are more into combat or exploration, or whatever, but you're right. That's the whole point, and I have dug it. And for the longest time before I played D&D or anything, or before we ever did this, I didn't know how much it was really for me. But man, I just enjoyed the creative aspect of it so much. So thank you guys so much for joining me on this. It's been a blast. And that's my final thought. Somebody else, please talk for a while. I've been talking for a long time.
So, hey, I'm going to thank our mythic lifeguards over on patreon.com/themanapool. Al, Kim Ho, Scuzzo, Jake Jansons, Michael? Timu Hellas Haryu, Jason Kaus, Casey. That's a more different Casey than the previous Casey, but it's actually the same Casey. Where was I? Jason Doan, ALK Alters, and Andrew Odie. I got a notification that was like, you have a new $20 patron, Casey. And I went, what? She's like, I don't know what happened. There was a problem with payment, and it made me sign up again. So, all right. So, yay. Thank you, patrons. All of you out there at every tier, all of you listening. I got to overhaul Patreon, I think. which is a thing I've been threatening to do for years, but I think it's finally time to knuckle down and do it. All right, Mike, how about you?
I think we covered my final thoughts during our discussion about the wrap up.
Fair enough. I don't want to talk to you anyway. I mean, what?
It was a whole lot of gabbing. So.
All right, then. Well, with that, we will be done with episode 705. Again, as Brian said, thank you all so very much if you listen through the RPGs and whatnot. And please do let us know what you think. Like, hit up the Discord and the Manapool channel or the, I guess, the tabletop channel. Either one. They both work. Or send us an email or poke me on any of the Twitter-ish things. By the way, we're on Twitter, BlueSky. What's the Instagram one? Threads. We're on Instagram too. Just why not? Just any of that stuff. Feel free to track us down, follow us there. Let us know what you thought. That's an evergreen statement, not just of this. But yeah, we should stop now. So, thank you all so very much for joining me and or joining us rather. This is not a video game stream. Let me try that again. Thank you all so very much for joining us. And what color did your eyes used to be?